Audio Jungle.
Hi guys, it's Angela from Business Sense. I'm here today with Inanda. We are at IBV Privé in Umhlanga and Park Square. Inanda is one of our top businesswomen 2024. I'm going to ask her to introduce herself and her business, and then we're going to have a great conversation about KZN and recent events.
Well, thank you so much for having me this afternoon. I'm Inanda Bezuidenhout from Consult by Momentum Peakshire. We are an asset protection and risk management specialist franchise within the short-term insurance space.
Okay, great. So Inanda, what we're going to chat about today is the recent events in KZN, being the rainfall that we've had, the flooding that has caused disastrous effects on infrastructure, etc., etc. The big conversation now to discuss is around the municipality's involvement, or should we say the municipality's lack of involvement in infrastructure and maintenance. So let's just get the questions straight out there, right? And I'm going to read this question. And we're going to start with talking about municipal mismanagement. Can you shed some light on how this has, what's the word, influenced the disaster that is now KZN?
Of course.
Okay.
Look, I think there's, over the last week and over the last couple of years, we have seen a drastic change in climate. We've seen KZN going from one storm, being hit by one storm to the other. We've seen the floods down the south coast, eThekwini municipality. We've seen the influence of that on our communities and the residents within KZN. There is a lot of blame going back and forth between municipalities and trying to put together the infrastructures, and there's statements by eThekwini mayor to say it is only, the infrastructure is only set for every 10-year, a big storm every 10 years. However, there is unfortunately our current plan that is in place, and the integrated disaster plan that is in place needs to be implemented. It's got to be released every 5 years. And I have to personally raise the question. There's been a disaster management opportunity or criteria is given that was handed over to us as eThekwini and to the mayor and them by the Netherlands. Has that been implemented? Where has it gone? Nothing has changed, unfortunately. So yes, there is a lot of things that go on behind the scenes as well. Your unfunded mandates. The municipality is given a budget for the year ahead. They are in between. Something happens like this major catastrophe and the disasters. They've got to take the funding somewhere, because it comes from roadworks, having a ripple effect and just overall restarting this process of disaster upon disaster.
So you're saying there are plans in place. So plans have been drawn up but not implemented.
Yes.
Okay.
I do think, look, as much as they try and they say there has been implementation and it's an attempt, we haven't really seen the adjustments and the plans that are there being implemented to a point of making a change. I think there's a bigger picture behind the scenes where there's, from a risk management point of view, where it can be a little bit wiser choices could be made, and the collaboration that needs to come into play.
So we're not just talking about maintenance, we're talking about actual making changes to infrastructure to maintain the weather that has now changed and become severe. So instead of a 10-year storm, we're getting a 2-year.
Yes.
Right, okay. And they haven't done anything to
make provision for it. We know that these are changing. We know, the world knows that climates are changing, and
so this shouldn't be a surprise.
No, it shouldn't be a surprise.
Okay, right. So how do we talk about accountability? I mean,
look, I think from an accountability point of view, we all need to hold them accountable. There needs to be accountability measures that are transparent. And I think that's where it comes into play, the transparency that needs to be there for the municipality. And also and possibly the private sector to get involved, and which we could possibly discuss in the next question or so.
Right, okay. So when you talk about private sector, so tell me what you mean about private sector getting involved. Aren't we always getting involved to rescue municipalities, shall we call them?
It is. At the end of the day, we as taxpayers are paying those for everything, and it's budgeted by government for certain things, and it's them that the municipalities that need to take accountability for how it is spent and implemented. So it does become a double payment dilemma.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
So can you explain that to me?
Yes,
Okay.
sure. So double payment dilemma is your insurers are charging insurance premiums for catering for the disaster. You are insuring your buildings, your infrastructures, and you're paying insurance, and ultimately you're paying higher premiums every time there's a storm or a claim. Your premiums go up, your self-insured portions go up, because insurance is not government funded. It is a pool of money that is contributed to by the people that are taking insurance. 30% of our country is insured, which is quite a scary number, taking in consideration the amount that is being paid out. We've seen over the world natural disasters taking place. There's NASA's got actually quite a very interesting on their website where you can go and see all the natural disasters around the world. Reinsurers are clamming down. So those piggy banks are, if you don't keep feeding it, it's going to run empty. So you are feeding that, but yet you are still paying taxes as well that are meant to go for those. It's meant to be used for your natural disasters. And that's where the double payment dilemma occurs.
Sure, right, okay. So let's talk about from your industry, the insurance industry. What changes can be made, or how do we protect ourselves against these doubled payments and the whole dilemma that it is now?
Look, I am of the personal opinion, as a risk manager at Consult Peaksha, there's always a solution. That is what I do. At the end of the day, I think as a risk manager, you see the problem and you try and find the best solution around it. To me, being in the industry, seeing what's going on, being a local resident within eThekwini, I'm saying insurers have the capabilities and the structures to bring the private sector collaborating with municipalities. Unfortunately, our municipalities do not have the funding, or we're going to have to pay for it in any case. So they don't have the systems. There's sometimes not enough knowledge out there. Insurers have high-tech AI-driven systems. They've got access to procurement agents or procurement sector, which has got specialized knowledge of engineers, of all of your surveyors, your quantity surveyors that are involved in that. Make use of it, collaborate. There was in February a memorandum signed with some of the two of the insurers, and I want to encourage more insurance companies to get involved with that. Look, it's not going to be an inexpensive exercise, because ultimately it is the private sector. But that said, the knowledge is there. Why are we paying double again on the municipality side when insurers have got access to it? We are going out, we are surveying, we are looking at the bridges. Make sure your environment around you is safe and secure, and it will reduce the claims that are coming through ultimately, which means that your piggy bank is saved a little bit, and reinsurers aren't going to clamp down as much on us because the funds are being managed.
But we're paying again. Ultimately, right.
Ultimately,
so we're not getting away from that.
No. Unfortunately, anything worth doing in life is that it's worth doing well, and if we can do it well the first time around, in the long run, it's going to benefit us all. And like I said, the funding is, the insurers are paying for that in any case. We are going out and doing the surveys, the risk surveys up front on buildings. If we can preempt and prevent or work with municipalities to say,
Yes.
that bridge is about to collapse, that is leading to our clients' premises. Imagine the loss that can be reduced in the
So
long
how
run.
would you go about doing that?
That is look, it's going to be take a lot of collaboration, accountability, and working together just to make sure that at the end of the day, to me personally, I look at it, our VAT is increased. There's
Okay.
enough funding if it's restructured and structured properly, like with your SASOs, your South African right, special right and strike fees, to incorporate a national disaster funding. It takes it away from insurers having to fund it.
Yeah.
And majority of the population contributing towards it instead of just the minority.
Do you think that with the national, with the government unity that is now in place, this may have more of a chance of happening? You know, the municipalities listening to insurance companies, taking advice or collaborating with them. Do you think that'll have any difference? You know, that's just a...
Look, I think
the
we've
record
already
question.
seen, yes, off the record. I think we've seen a lot of changes already happen.
Right, okay.
A lot of things come into place, and it's not going to be an overnight fix,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah.
It's not something, we've got storms at the moment. Unfortunately, any builder will tell you cannot work in rainy weather.
Correct.
So it is unfortunately not something that we're going to be able to change overnight.
Yeah.
But I think if we put the risk measures in place, if we start focusing on the implementation of it, not just having a piece of paper and a memorandum,
Right.
but the implementation of it, it would get better. And because we are working towards collaborating as a nation then.
And planning.
Yes, definitely planning.
Planning ahead is always, isn't it? Planning and preparation.
Look, I think from a
So I think...
in the immediate time, if you are wanting to immediately for people to see a relief, it's to take precaution.
Yes.
I think as insurers, Momentum Insure has recently launched Safe, Keep Safe, based on what they've experienced in the past. At the end of the day, people's safety is more valuable than any asset. And assets can be replaced. We've unfortunately seen loss of lives with the recent storm and all the prior storms. And I think to always remember, at the end of the day, when anything happens, try and take care of you and your loved ones first.
Right.
Don't rush into that bridge that might be looking a little bit full, that's
yeah.
overflowing with water.
Wow.
Try and stay clear rather. Turn around if you can. If your vehicle gets swept up with the rains, leave it. Get out your home as well. Grab the important documentation. Grab your medicine that is vital, important. Majority of insurers insure, if you are insured, they cover alternative accommodation. There's always somewhere safe to go rather than stay where it's not safe.
Right. Good advice. And what would you change as far as insurance? What could the average man on the street change as far as insurance is?
Look, it is
involved?
important to me. At the moment, there is no, South Africa doesn't hold any natural disaster insurance from a government point of view.
Yeah.
I think it has become very important that as much as there's become areas that have become uninsurable, and we've seen it because it's just over and over that they've been hit. I think it's important to try and manage your risk.
What can we do as far as maintenance on a personal level?
On a personal level, I think it's much of taking care of your immediate environment, making sure maintenance is done, making sure as much as possible that your surrounding areas are not going to be a natural disaster in itself. Look, I understand that we can either sit back and say we all aware it is municipalities' responsibility to take care of the verges, to take care of the area around you and the roads and all of that. But as a community, if we see that it isn't being taken care of, I do believe it falls on us because ultimately we are protecting our assets. We are protecting the assets that we are insuring and going to be paying for in any case. So I think it's also good for our children to see as a community, you're getting together taking pride in your area, making sure it's maintained, making sure the gutters are cleared, making sure that the stormwater drains around you, not going into the drains. Please keep safe and keep away from those. But the verges, the grass isn't overgrowing. And there's a lot of communities out there that do that. They get involved, the private sector comes through and cleans up an area, puts up a little board, and it's great for advertising as the garden services.
Yes.
Anybody out there? So I think it's just taking precaution as much as possible and being safe.
And working together as a community.
Yes.
Right.
And I think that's what it's all together. And I think ultimately what we need to realize is this is not a problem that's going to go away.
Right.
We cannot cure global warming instantly. We'd love to, but unfortunately, and the weather and storms, natural disasters, it's something that is unpredictable. It is something, and we can only do our best together as a community to try and mitigate the risk as much as possible, be held accountable for our actions, and move on implementing the reaction to that.
And I think ultimately we need to be accountable for our province of KZN and look after it. Inanda, what would you say in closing? Let's summarize what we've spoken about.
I do think it's about accountability,
Right.
responsibility, and transparency, implementing those plans that we set forth, collaborating in order for us to move forward as a nation and as a province.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for chatting with us today. This is Angela and Inanda for Business Sense.
Thank you.
Audio